Greetings, my fellow freedom loving sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Sunday, February 22nd, 2026. This is episode 1941. Is James Fishback the Gen Z David Duke or just a con man? Before I proceed, you can find me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Looky Luck number 3, Looky Luck Roman number 3 with 3 eyes, or the Looky Luck Roman number 3 podcast. Furthermore, if you have any questions, comments, recommendations, and all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast at proton.me. If you're not doing it, go to PayPal.me or cash out at /Looky Luck number 3. Oh, man. Yep, so it looks like things are happening in Florida. There was a report that some of the folks in the illegal immigration ordeal, making claims that they got kidnapped, but in reality, protocol and all that. And don't get me wrong, it's government, so there's going to be obstacles, insanity, and a big cluster. Well, you could actually thank the open borders policy in the past administration. We can go even way back further to 1965. Congress made it more like bringing bodies, you could say. And LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, signed it into law. Now what we're witnessing here is just a part of the Club of Rome agenda. I know I'll probably repeat this multiple times. Now, good people, some folks are getting screwed allegedly. One thing I tell people, even when it comes to immigration, I'm no expert at the laws itself. Keep your nose clean, follow through, respect the cultures and the laws. And I always recommend people try to become citizens as soon as possible. It's an interesting lesson I brought up to people 26 years ago with Elian Gonzalez. We hear multiple sides of everything. And what occurred, I really questioned how the protocol went. Especially going into people's homes without a warrant, putting the gun to their faces right in front of Elian. So he got traumatized. I always said by nature he should be with his father, but on a political perspective, who was pulling the strings? So he's got to look at those areas. And I recall the courts did have his relatives take care of him. But Janet Reno, my way or the highway. Rest in shame. I was never fond of that woman. Very corrupt. But I digress. Let all this, didn't want things her way. And I warned a lot of folks, the Cuban people in that area, and especially in the business, the hospitality, music industry, and all that. Gave them a point blank. I let them know everything in good faith. What happened here is a disturbing precedent. I suggest everyone become U.S. citizens as soon as possible, because with this particular case, can lead to lifting the embargo and deportation. And I'm not saying this on their ethnicity at all. These are good people out there that need to be prepared. You always got to be vigilant. Can't linger. Can't assume. Because I saw a report on Channel 10, WPLG, down in Florida, happened to one individual. Loved his life for 20 years. And she did commit certain crimes. Wasn't really eligible to be citizen or got rid of her legal status as a resident. And this is why I put a few points in some of those places. And I got some feedback, not gonna say backlash, because people have different views, which is good. And I always admire that. And, cause we always gotta know when it comes to these news stations, how accurate is the official narrative? But I don't get mad. That's why when I get some of the feedback, I didn't get offended. I like to hear what they had to say, and I always appreciate that. So always keep that in mind. It's like, hey, everyone has different views, but we have to look at everything a lot more thoroughly the best we can. We're all human beings. And now what's going on with all these mass deportations, okay? Which is bringing in bodies, and you got riffraff coming in too. I recall in the 1980s, 79, 1980s, with the Haitian, Cuban, Nicaraguan exodus. The mayor of Bogota, though, Fidel Castro cleaned out his prisons. There was even reports the same thing with Maduro in Venezuela recently, a while back during the Biden administration. And folks said it's being racist. No, it's not. It's ethical. And all the good folks and all the other folks are getting screwed by it too. That's why I tell people you got to be vigilant in these areas, because we've been living in a dangerous world for a very long time. You can't point the fingers at a certain administrative group. That's ludicrous, because it's been a habit. If Orange Man does bad, but the opposition does it, people say, oh, it's exceptional. Screw your faction slave rhetoric. It's a lot bigger than what it is. I'm just very, disheartened with the one person happened on Channel 10 News, WPLG. She looks like she made some crimes, drugs, theft. We don't know for sure, but that's according to them, but to that report. We have to see things a lot broader than what it is. I don't even know the entire story. Boldly admit it. That's why I always tell people, my listeners, observe responsibly. And I do appreciate people sharing me information and give their thoughts too, regardless if they agree with them or not. As long as you do it with fidelity, that's what counts, and decorum, of course. But I had to do a little rant on that. That's in South Florida, Miami-Dade, Florida area. So, well, some folks, they have to follow through. I'm not saying it's simple or anything like that. But there's too many people like to be lackadaisical. That's like one avenue. It happens everywhere. And we all could take responsibility for that practice, being lackadaisical, including yours truly had those moments as well. But we always got to stay on top of our game. Endure, not stagnate. Well, that'll be it on my little rant. So I'm going to be reading here, just going through some of the sites. And this is from the Floridian. Florida politics. Is James Fishback the Gen Z David Duke or just a con man? This is what Javier Manjares has to say. It came out today, by the way. Oh, and celebrate George Washington's birthday. All right. As it reads here, he said he was going to ignore alleged con man James Fishback, but Representative Brian Donalds was left no choice but to do so, as the apparent Nick Fuentes wannabe continues to push the anti-Semitic and racist political envelope. Wait, where is the Republican Party's Florida commendation of Fishback? Remember, Fishback is running for governor as a Republican, so his rhetoric and self-serving antics reflect on all Republicans and the Republican name. Fishback has embraced the far-right anti-Israel sentiment that a new breed of anti-Semitic and racist Gen Z influencers have latched onto, having recently stated no one should kiss a stupid wall. I'll stop right there. I'll keep on going here. The reference to kissing a stupid wall is targeting the Western Wall in Jerusalem, a holy site for both Jews and Christians alike. Fishback, Fuentes, and their ilk tout Christianity, but don't appear to know the wall's historical significance to both religions. And what's funny about that wall, they said that was rebuilt by one of the Roman emperors, I can say. I've got the person's name, unfortunately. Because, as I remember, according to the Bible, Jerusalem was plummeted, crumbled to the ground on 70 AD or CE by the Romans. So how that Western Wall They're supposed to be, quote, sacred. But that's you to decide. Nick Fuentes, the white nationalist who recently endorsed Fishback's campaign, recently stated, "I don't want to live around black people. It would be irresponsible if I had a wife and kids to live near black people." He also expressed his support for the Islamic Republic of Iran's crackdown on protesters and blames Israel for destroying that country. Sometimes you gotta look at this angle, folks. The dangers of foreign powers and influences. I'll read on. In modern America, Jews lead the effort to de-Christianize America. They share a little of the heritage of the Old Testament people called the Israelites. Communism and Zionism were both from the same Jewish soul. Jewish power is unambiguous. It is not a Jewish conspiracy. It is simply two nations, Jew and Gentile, in the state of ethnic war. Did James Fishback make these statements about Jews? With all of his anti-Israel remarks, one would think that these remarks were made by Fishback, right? Well, those statements were made by David Duke, who once ran and won a seat in the Louisiana legislature and also ran for governor of the state. The U.S. Senate and President of the United States. Is Fishback the next David Duke? Even the Louisiana Republican Party denounced Duke. Wait, didn't Jesus Christ tell us to love one another? Love thy neighbor, regardless of color, creed, or religious belief? Love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another, said Jesus Christ. Back to what Representative Donald stated on X. Dear James Fishback, I heard you crashed out when I told the truth about your stupid anti-Semitic BDS plan that would take pension money from police and fire for more government handouts. You stole that plan from Kamala Harris, just like you stole your whole gimmick from Nick Fuentes and Zohar Mamdani. Tell everyone the truth. 6 months ago in Madison County, you had me face to face on stage for an hour. You could have asked me anything. You had a lapel mic and recorded the whole thing. Be a man and release the tape. You won't do it because it will prove that we both know you're no racist, you're no groypier, you're no anti-Semite. You're what people hate about politics. Perform the slop. James comments sincerely, Florida's next governor. This was a mic drop of epic political proportions. Fishback had the chance to call out Donalds to his face last year at a Madison County Republican meeting, but didn't. Why? Is James Fishback a con man? A Donald States? Can he be both a racist and a con man? Regardless of what the anti-Israel and racist statements and he continues to make, this is on the Republican Party to denounce him. Yeah, I understand that they don't want to give his message oxygen, but there also comes a time when standing up for what is right and pushing back against a message that is anti-Republican takes precedent. Fishback has also questioned Representative Donald's Republican gubernatorial campaign, referring to him with racial slurs like Byron and calling him slave to donors. Oh, Fishback also tweeted, Byron equals FN. What is FN? Interesting, right? Well, I can tell you all this, folks. That's the one thing I always tell people. Even though you're going to rally around somebody, if they get elected, you don't trust them. Make sure they do the job. Including Brian Donalds, too. Because he did vote for stuff that's considered unconstitutional. And I say that in good faith. We cannot go around, pick or choose whether we like these people or not. We gotta make sure they have to do the job. And there's a claim about with Jay and Fishback. Let them debate with Brian Donalds. It'll be a perfect time. Make it live feed. And let's see how far this thing goes. But one thing I know about Brian Donalds, they claim he's getting money from AIPAC. And there's always been a warning. I don't care what you look like, what party you in. The dangers of foreign powers and influences is dangerous. Fellas Papers 2 through 5. That was written by, oh shoot, forgot the guy's name right in front of my. Oh my goodness. George Washington Federal Address is one of them. John Jay. Thank you. John Jay should have actually, he wrote Fellas Papers 2 through 5. And many of the people in these politicians, regardless of party, think it's okay. That including Byron Donalds. You have the right to criticize the Israeli government in the state of Florida, even in public places. That Florida Anti-Semitism Protection Act is null and void. I did a show on that a long time ago. Read it in its entirety and what laws they violated under the Florida Constitution, Declaration of Rights, including prohibited laws. That is an impairing contract. And I'm not going to collect Jew bashing collectively. To me, that's irrelevant. A person like myself, I could call them ginos or the synagogue of Satan. Frauds, imposters, trying to control our lives. Yes, there are people in there like Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, Karl Marx. I call them ginos. Rothschild props, okay? That's how I look at things. And I hear James Fishback speak what he wants to do as governor. A lot of it is very good, but can it be delivered through legislation? That's how you have to look at. And as far as I'm concerned, with this article, I'm not jumping to conclusions, but rather observe responsibly. And you two gentlemen, Mr. Donalds, Mr. Fishback, debate and have your merits. Have your facts when you counter. No more hot air rhetoric. The people in Florida are tired of it. And that includes everyone else around the world when it comes to their so-called leaders. You're going to be the part of the executive elected servant, commander-in-chief under Article 4 of the Florida Constitution. No more foreign influences. It is dangerous and unacceptable and downright treasonous. For all you folks out there who are GOP that support Donalds, prove me wrong if you dare. I'll love to hear from you. And one more thing. The GOP is a left-wing organization. So, just like the Democrats, both lefties, but one's exposing one Jacobin exposing their spots more than the other. That's all I have to say. All right. That is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use the quorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. If you're going to donate, go to PayPal at me or Cash Out app /look3. If you want to check out the Floridian, like I said before, observe responsibly. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.